I said, oh, really? Did you see the former press secretary for the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval ratings in the first month or so, or 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really?
I could be friends with a Trump supporter. I won't give them a kidney, but I could be friends with them.
The Democratic field in 2028 could have the party looking for their own version of Donald Trump. Strategists say there's never been a better time for a political outsider to succeed. I guess they mean it like that. And they're throwing names around like billionaire Mark Cuban and sports commentator Stephen A. Smith.
So 20 years after they last won a popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it, 89% of the counties shifted gears. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
Well, it's a different definition.
I pointed out, he was voted for because they considered him closer to normal than what the Democrats were spewing.
Stephen Miller just appeared on The View and completely shut them down in front of millions of viewers. And let me tell you, they did not take it well. During a recent interview, Joy Behar brought up a topic that wasn't even meant for Stephen Miller, but his response completely caught her off guard and left her speechless. Instead of facing the facts, she lost control and went into full denial mode. But before I show you the video, here's what Stephen Miller had to say after The View.
Did you see me on The View Tuesday afternoon? Did you see when they said, we don't believe there's a Trump mandate? I said, oh, really? Did you see the former press secretary for the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval ratings in the first month or so, or 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? But didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America? Didn't his popularity elevate within the black community, the Hispanic community, and the young voters? Didn't he win the popular vote for the first time in 20 years as a Republican nominee? Didn't he also win the electoral college vote? Isn't he in control of the White House? Don't the Republicans have the House and the Senate? All of that happened, but there's no Trump mandate. You see the bullshit? Is it bullshit? Or is it just that the Democrats are so damn lost that they're actually going to convince themselves they can do the same old and still regain power, both in the midterms and in the 2028 election? I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen, because Trump has the power now. And he's manipulating the proceedings. And in case you didn't notice, one of his top boys, Elon Musk, Doge, owns X. Who else was at the inauguration? Jeff Bezos. The man running TikTok. And Lord knows who else. And then you got folks like Candace Owens, who's a Trump supporter, along with various others with their microphones, their cameras, and their audience. If you think the liberals are overcoming that, you go ahead and watch Schumer and those 21 other senators talk their drivel. J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or somebody will be the next president in 2028. You'll have nobody but yourselves to blame.
Trust me, this is exactly what he said on The View. But just watch Joy Behar and the others when they heard it for the first time. Their reactions were priceless. You could literally see the moment they realized they had no comeback. And the best part? They weren't just angry. They looked like they felt betrayed by their own side.
So Trump's only been in office for 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And he's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. We can sit up there and play around all we want to. In 2020, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the electoral college vote. A matter of fact, the Republicans hadn't won the popular vote, if I remember correctly, since 2004. But they did this year. So 20 years after they last won the popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it all, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
The room had been loud the whole time, but the moment Stephen Miller spoke, you could feel the tension shift. Did you see Joy Bayo's reaction? She was completely shocked, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. It was as if Stephen had just exposed the Democrats right in front of them. But trust me, it gets even better. I'm about to show you what they said about Stephen Miller that left everyone stunned. But before that, let's keep going, because what you're about to see is a view getting completely shut down live.
But the problem is that if you're the Democratic Party and you lost 49.8% to 48.3%, and you're looking at that 1.5% dip, that's an excuse for you to say, what we did really wasn't that bad.
Well, some people didn't
we should continue to do that.
Do you think that
don't continue to do that. Find a new strategy.
But do you think those groups, the black voters, the Latino voters, and the others that you mentioned, are they going to regret it soon?
Possibly. I think so. I don't like what I'm seeing from Trump. I didn't like what I saw with Zelensky. I didn't like what I saw with a few things. But in the end, I didn't like it. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. The American people, in their eyes, it wasn't about him. They were voting against what the Democrats were throwing in their direction. I don't only talk to Cuomo. I did interview Eric Adams. I did interview Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. I interviewed these people. I've talked to them, and I'm going to talk to some more of them, too. And I'm going to say the same message. What are you doing to win? I love Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland. I love Josh Perry of Pennsylvania, okay? I just interviewed Cuomo. I like him a lot. I want somebody to step up and recognize that man in the Oval Office, whether you like it or not, is potent. He's coming and he wins. You got to find a way to beat him. This way is not the way that the Democrats have been doing it.
Let's talk about how people are feeling about his performance.
Even with Stephen Miller laying out straight facts, they just sat there, acting like they didn't hear a word he said. It's like they refused to even process it. And Whoopi Goldberg, she looked stunned, almost like she couldn't believe Stephen was calling out his own party. But instead of actually debating his points, Sunny Host just brushed it off and changed the subject to ratings, because that's all they seem to care about. And if you really listen, all Stephen Miller was saying was common sense. The Democrats need to stop obsessing over Trump and start fixing their own problems instead of pretending they are not the issue.
Because a CNN poll this week found that 52% of people disapprove of Trump's performance in office so far. So even though he may have won the general election by less than 50%, 52% disapprove of what he's doing. We're also seeing Republican voters at town halls opposing his executive overreach, giving Elon Musk the shadow presidency. Yet you said, quote, Trump is closer to normal than what we're seeing on the left.
Yeah, I was talking about why he won the election. When I made that statement, I was talking about that was before the election.
I see.
Right.
Okay.
So when during the election, I said in the immediate aftermath of the election, I pointed out he was voted for because they considered him closer to normal than what the Democrats were spewing. That was what I said at that particular moment in time. Now, obviously, Elon Musk is an entirely different matter altogether. Right. This man is not an elected official. He hasn't been confirmed by the Senate or anything, but he's got an inordinate amount of power.
Given to him by Trump.
I can understand how that could scare the living daylights out of folks, and the approval ratings. Obviously, we pay attention to that. But here's the bigger question. Who on the Democratic side are the American people pointing to and saying that's the person? They don't have anybody.
There's no one person to blame here because the Democrats will never change. They all stick together, just like they do on The View. Stephen Miller only spoke out because they tried to paint him as one of them. But here's the truth. The Democrats don't actually want to hear what people think. Instead, they hide the truth, feed their followers pure nonsense, and push distractions about Elon Musk and Dogecoin instead of dealing with real issues.
We're 6 weeks in with
National Voice.
Right. We're 6 weeks in with who. Everybody said let him do what he's doing so we can see what's going on. So, and now people are saying, well, what are you going to do as a Democrat? Well, wait a minute now. Y'all didn't want to hear what we had to say as Democrats because that wasn't what people voted for.
True.
So now we have a clear definition, and the American people will decide how they like what he's doing because now it's affecting in a way that people were not anticipating. People who didn't think they would be affected, like the folks who work in the federal government, they never saw this coming.
And
They
people
never
can't make
saw this
omelets
coming.
anymore.
Sorry about
That's
it.
okay.
People can make omelets. Everybody doesn't eat eggs. Not a fan. But I like chickens. But I'm not a fan of eggs for the mouth. Anyway.
She won't, because Biden has already gotten rid of all the chickens, so there won't be any eggs left for you. What amazes me the most is how they all repeat the exact same thing instead of even trying to show the reality. And when I say that, I mean it. Watch closely.
Of over 145 million innocent hens nationwide. Hens, if you didn't know, lay eggs. The official line after the fact from the Biden White House was that the hens had to go because of the bird flu. And I just think it's interesting that all of this happened after Donald Trump won the election. They did this after. It's almost like Joe Biden knew that doing that would cause egg prices to go up, which they did.
After pulling this stunt, they immediately pushed their propaganda on us, acting like they had no idea what was going on. But the truth is, they were the ones who created this mess in the first place. They broke the system, and now they are pretending they had nothing to do with it.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse, not better. The prices of grocery, gas, housing, eggs, of essentials, it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has done nothing. Goose eggs to lower prices. Instead, he's pardoned violent criminals who savagely beat police officers.
On January 6th.
He's letting Elon Musk take a chainsaw to vital government programs and then, even worse, giving him access to Americans' most sensitive data. Social Security numbers, tax returns, health care bills. He's fired thousands of essential workers, people who help our veterans get their benefits, people fighting Ebola in Africa so it doesn't come here. He's frozen funding for vital programs that so many American families need. Cancer research, education fund, payments to family farmers, and so much worse. Why are they doing this? Trump, Musk, Doge are taking these vital services away from you for one reason only, so they can give tax breaks to their billionaires club. Their plan is awful, simply awful. Billionaires win, families lose. And that is the truth.
And that is the truth.
Seeing this, it's clear that the Democrats have gone so far left that people don't even want to listen to them anymore. They've pushed their agenda so hard that they're completely disconnected from everyday Americans. And for those wondering about the polls on Trump's speech, over 70% of people loved how he shut down the nonsense and spoke the truth. Meanwhile, the same woke elite spent a whole month hyping up Biden's so-called fiery speech. And now, as always, they are backtracking and twisting the narrative.
The Democratic field in 2028 could have the party looking for their own version of Donald Trump. Strategists say there's never been a better time for a political outsider to succeed. I guess they mean it like that. And they're throwing names around like billionaire Mark Cuban and sports commentator Stephen A. Smith, who was on the other day. I personally would like to see Ana Navarro and Cha-Cha running. I think Cha-Cha will be a very good vice president, better than Vance. Question: should Democrats?
She was actually born a lapdog, didn't turn into one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, should Democrats consider any and all options?
No. I mean, we have an outsider in the White House right now, and look how well it's going. You know, I mean, it's just Stephen A. Smith at least admitted here.
He talks too fast. I can't follow him.
Well, he admitted.
Not only can she not keep up, but she also won't admit that is absolutely right. This is why you only ever hear people when they're attacking Trump, not when they're supporting him. And even now, The View has no idea that their party is spiraling downward so fast that recovering from it will be nearly impossible.
Although the bar is pretty low in terms of who would be qualified to be the president of the United States, he admitted that he is unqualified. So I think we can take that name out of it. And Mark Cuban has also said he's not interested in running for the president of the United States.
So who do you think? Is that an idea?
Well, I think that someone that has experience, if we want to talk about meritocracy, let's have maybe a governor who's used to...
Like Pritzker?
Governor Pritzker,
who's from
absolutely
Illinois.
fantastic.
I like him.
I happen to like Gavin Newsom. I do think I like Fetterman. I do think that Bashir is great. I think if you look at Hakeem Jeffries, you know, I like Hakeem. I I think there is a field. There are a huge field of people with experience.
Amy Klobuchar, Gretchen Whitmer is there.
Alyssa Slotkin. Gretchen would be great.
We've seen the past 10 years how women do as presidential candidates.
Well, but we're going to have to keep on trying until we get there.
If we keep saying the country's not ready, you never see when the country's ready.
Oh, so now they're making it about gender instead of who's actually the best. This is exactly why they fail to connect with their own people. All they ever do is push gender and race quotas instead of focusing on actual competence. And guess what? It's never worked. But here they go again, trying to elect someone just because she's a woman, claiming that women can do better, rather than choosing the most qualified person. They won't stop until they force their agenda through. But the truth is, they never will, because they don't listen, and their version of reality is completely disconnected from the real world.
I could be friends with a Trump supporter. I won't give them a kidney, but I could be friends with them. I mean, the thing about it is it's not just about politics. It's about morality, ethics. It's about cruelty. It's about discrimination. It's about a lot of things. So those are personal human values. We're not really just talking about fiscal conservative who pays more taxes. We're talking about...
If I were her, I wouldn't even dare to speak on anything. And yet, The View proudly brings on a woman who can barely answer a single question properly and calls her a political analyst to give us so-called insight. This is like a blind person leading another blind person. Sooner or later, they are both going to fall straight into a trap.
That's the first question, but you, when Stephen was leaving, she said, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. I disagree with you.
Yes, I do.
And I was curious, and so that's why I was curious.
I do, on the mandate, on Donald Trump and his administration having a mandate. And we have to be super mindful and careful of this because he does not have a mandate. And what I mean by that is if you look at the numbers, just look at the facts. He won with the smallest margin of the popular vote since the 19th century. Yeah. There was no coattail, meaning that it is the House is at a razor thin, and he's on his way in the first 100 days to be the most unpopular president in their first 100 days. That is not a mandate.
In 70 years.
In 70 years.
The word man is in there.
Well, that's questionable.
But I guess the question is, does it...
Maybe you forgot, but this is exactly who they are. And the people clapping, they are the real fools, because they don't even need to know Trump's history. Just looking at what he's doing for them should be enough, whether they voted for him or not. That's what this entire video is about. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And you can also check out our latest video by clicking below.